Well, listen, next up, though, Angela Rayner. Now, she's been accused of hypocrisy after it was discovered that she made £48,500 of profit on her ex-council house thanks to the right to buy policy. She now wants to reform. Now, there's obviously no discussion that she's done anything wrong by that, but critics say that the Labour's deputy leader wants to pull up the ladder to make it harder for other social housing tenants to benefit in the same way that she has. Her actions follow a long-running criticism of Sir Keir Starmer, who wishes to put a VAT on private school fees, even though his grammar school was converted into a fee-paying school when he was still a pupil there, and I think his fees were paid. So, Nigel and Susanna, what do you make of this? I'll start with you, Nigel Nelson.
Well, first of all, this idea, we know we're in election year when stories like this come up and Angela gets accused of hypocrisy, which is complete nonsense.
Well, why? Why is it nonsense?
It's nonsense because everybody, we were saying earlier that MPs are people too, and they go along with the government system of the day. So it may well be that they would like to change tax rates, but they pay the tax that actually the rate as it is now. All Angela Rayner was doing, she wasn't even an MP at the time, she took advantage of Margaret Thatcher's right to buy. Her bit was 25% off, that was the rule there. The Tories have changed that in 2012 to 60% off. When Labour come to power, they will review whether that figure is actually fair. The fact that she did all this nearly sort of 20 years ago doesn't seem to me particularly hypocritical. She had every right to do it, as you said, and why not?
Well, because now she's an MP and she's in a position to make it easier for people like herself and the things that she benefited from. And also the Labour Party is supposed to be helping the sort of working class, as it were. Why is she putting up the drawbridge, Suzanne Evans?
Well, that seems to be exactly what she's doing. Now, she's obviously done nothing wrong, as Nigel said. That's quite clear. Personally, I think Margaret Thatcher was wrong to sell off all the council houses. I think we needed those houses for people who were poor, who couldn't afford a market rent, needed somewhere to live. I think it was one of the biggest mistakes. In this sense, on this one, I am actually. I think it was wrong because we need those houses
so that they could afford it. The poorer people were able to get up the top on the ladder. So why is that wrong?
That's fine, because we didn't replace every council house we sold with a new house. So basically what happened is that a house was taken out of the marketplace, and now, as you know, we have a massive housing shortage, which we're never going to be able to fulfil, particularly not. We've still got 750,000 people coming into the country every year. So Angela Rayner's done nothing wrong. Hypocrisy, yes, I think she is a hypocrite. Labour have constantly talked about, as you say, stopping this discount and making it smaller when they've already benefited. It's exactly the same as the grammar school thing that you mentioned in your introduction. How many Labour MPs sitting on the green benches went to grammar school and now actually don't want others to benefit from that same education? And it's a nasty, vindictive politics. And I have to disagree, Nigel, with you saying, there's an election coming up, so people are talking about this where there's nothing in it. I'm afraid this is good old-fashioned journalistic bread and butter, actually. Delving into the nitty-gritty of people's housing arrangements always comes up, and it's always something.
Well, yeah, but it's interesting. It's election year that Michael Ashcroft has decided to write this book where the revelation is contained in this particular year, and takes a huge interest in Angela Rayner's sort of personal circumstances. The point I'm making is, why can you not want to change a policy just because you may have benefited down the road?
Because it doesn't look good, does it? It stinks,
maybe it doesn't look good.
Why hasn't she been honest about it? Why hasn't she? When she was talking about this, why didn't she say, I have to admit, hands up, honestly, I benefited from this. I regret that now. I'll give some of the money to charity. She hasn't done any of that, has she?
It's a lot of that about,
She's just said... she's kept quiet about it. She's not talked about it. It's been Lord Ashcroft's investigation that's brought this all to light.
Yeah,
I think if you're going to push a policy that it benefits you in some way, you have to be honest.
But it doesn't benefit her. I mean, all this is in the past. So I can't see, and I can't see why she shouldn't have done it if that was the existing system at the time.
We're not saying she shouldn't have done it. What I'm saying is she should have been open and upfront and honest enough to talk about it instead of it all having to come out in a book.
Well, I mean, I don't think it was ever a secret, but I mean, whether you actually talk about all your personal circumstances when you're trying to bring in new laws, I don't know. I mean, it's only very recently we've seen a bit of the tax returns of people like the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition.
Because the law changed, and so they now have to publish their tax returns.
But it's a recent thing. I mean, that people didn't do that before.
No.
And I'm not against the idea of transparency. I just think it would be a bit odd to actually say, right, to list everything you've done for the last 20 years in case it has a bearing on a policy you're about to bring in.
But that's not the point, is it? The fact is she's looking at a policy that will take away something that she's benefited from directly, which has enabled her to do a lot of the things she's done, and that's actually beneficial.
Well, she's looking at the 60% discount. Yeah. What she benefited from was a 25% discount.
And it also seems that she, despite the fact she got married and her husband had another house, it also seems she kept this council house that she'd bought until a period had gone by
5
where
years.
she could make the full benefit from it, despite the fact that they'd got another property.
And she may not have been living in it.
So
But again, there's
I think
nothing...
it's not just
nothing
the
illegal.
hypocrisy
She's
about...
done anything illegal.
Yeah, it's again, it's not illegal, but she was clearly very canny in the way she did this, and I think she should have been much more open and honest about it up front.
Well, I think
arguably,
what
wouldn't have
a
this
canny
problem.
Deputy Prime Minister.
Mama didn't raise no fool. Mama didn't raise no fool with Angela Rayner. To be sure, yes, she's made some good moves for her, but I just think it's a bit... it doesn't really leave a very nice taste in people's mouths if you've benefited from it, and then those who are coming after you don't benefit on it because you've changed the rules. So that doesn't look good at all.